Welcome to Matters Over Miles, Season 3, Episode 2.
Season 3, Episode 2.
Where we are talking about different locations that we've been to. Some of our favorite places to eat. Some of our favorite coffee shops.
Hey.
Some of the things that God has done in our time there. Some little tour stories.
And I'm your host, Mary Pat Smisson. With my co-host, Whitney Walker.
I keep this ship afloat. You know it's true.
We are both co-hosts. We both host the podcast together. It's fine.
We're here still in Colorado.
We're here still.
Here still. A whole 2 weeks later.
No.
In Colorado.
Oh my gosh. This is awesome. So yeah.
The cool thing is, I don't know if you can see behind us, but there's an elk farm.
Elk reserve.
Elk reserve. Yes. Not a farm.
Yes.
Elks don't.
No, it's a reserve.
Yeah. We're not farming with elk though.
No.
It's just a place for them to run freely. And in their early morning hours, you can sometimes see them peacefully gallivanting through the snow. And it is like actually one of the most cathartic things I've ever seen.
It's amazing. So, Whitney Walker, my beautiful co-host, what are we going to be talking about today?
Today, the location of choice is the Midwest.
Midwest. And for this Midwest kid, she's got a lot to say.
We love the Midwest.
We love it.
We love a good Midwestern dream sequence.
Yeah, we do. So we're going to talk about Guy. We've been playing there forever.
Yes.
Forever.
I grew up in Michigan.
Yes.
If there's anybody that still doesn't know that about me, I'm not sure. I lived still most of my life. I can say that for a couple more years.
Yeah, but not too much longer.
Once I turn like 34 and a half, it won't be most of my life anymore, which is sad. Most of my life still, I grew up in Southeast Michigan in the suburbs of Detroit. And I'm very proud to be from Michigan.
You are. You're a very proud Michigander.
People don't know anything about Michigan and they think they do.
Whoa.
And most people have never been there.
Wait, don't throw punches yet. No one's done anything.
Really throwing punches.
You are. You're putting on the gloves. You're lacing up. You're ready for people.
I'm just like flexing my fingers.
Don't.
I literally was on a hike one time though, and I had a Detroit Tigers hat on. And this guy walked past me and also had a Detroit Tigers hat on. And I was like, Detroit, are you from Michigan? And he's like, no, I just like the Tigers. He's like, are you from Detroit? And I was like, I am actually. And he's like, have you ever been shot at?
Oh, man.
Like, just like first question out the gate on a hike. Like, I'm trying to freaking enjoy myself, man. And I just was like, no. Like, it's not like...
There's so much more. There's so much more to the Midwest than people getting shot in Detroit.
Legitimately.
It's still important, but there's a lot going on in the Midwest besides that.
The most of Michigan is woods and streams and a lot of deer.
But there's more about Michigan. There's more about the Midwest than just Michigan.
Sure. Ohio, Indiana, Missouri.
We got some stuff going on.
We do.
Yeah.
Illinois, Indiana.
You said Indiana.
Minnesota, Wisconsin. Is that all of them? Did I get them all? Iowa technically probably Midwest, right?
I think it's on the border, but yeah.
Like the states that actually make sense that they're called Midwest.
I always
because
get
Michigan
Iowa,
is like very on the east.
Yeah,
like
I always get Iowa and Idaho like mixed up. Yeah. They're not, but I'm always like, right? That's not Idaho.
Because they're two places that you've rarely been to, so it kind of makes sense.
But we did go to Des Moines. And it was like Pleasantville. It was so weird.
Des Moines is the first place I ever had oat milk. And I remember being like, what is oat milk? Can we just squeeze anything that is beige and make milk out of it now? I literally
Did you honestly just say that?
I said it. Said it to the barista.
Oh my God.
And he was like, actually, it's very good. And I am such a troll because I exclusively drink oat milk now. It is like, that was just like a full loop-de-doo in my brain. Wow.
Okay.
I remember that. It was a very pretentious little coffee shop in an apocalyptic downtown.
It was weird.
That seemed like they knew something we didn't know about, like an alien invasion happening, and they had all like scurried off into the countryside, and we were just
very quiet and super clean.
We just rolled through in the van, and we were like, hey, let's stop in this cool city we've never been to, find some food and coffee. This little tiny coffee shop, and it was like they had like 12 kinds of milks. And oat was on there, and I just remember feeling like this has gone too far. I'm already so far off the rails. I'm sorry. But then,
and I'm gonna try and get it back, but it's gonna be hard because this story's pretty funny. And then you and Lou started writing a like SNL skit about people showing up to a gym
because it's not
to order
milk. Milk is a dairy product.
Okay, but the SNL skit was basically about how people could roll up
and say
after their workout and get a certain type of protein shake with different alternative milks.
Like
and you guys
MYLK.
And then you guys like said, and you called the place Gym Time. And you spelled time with also a Y. And then you're like, what kind of milks would you like?
GYMTYM. Gym Time. With a coffee shop in it that has alternative milks.
Oh my gosh.
This is literally what the last 12 years of my life has actually been like. A good chunk of my existence is spent with the little rodents running around on the wheels in my mind, making up stuff like this while we're driving way too many miles.
And I would say that your Midwest humor has only enhanced those moments.
Worse and worse.
It's great.
Anyway, Des Moines, my first oat milk experience, changed my life, apparently.
But the Midwest, Michigan, Indiana, those two, and Ohio, those places specifically,
we've been there a lot.
Those were our like formative,
the teeth cutting states for sure. Yeah.
Yes.
So my dad is a pastor, and my grandfather was a pastor before him, and they have a lot of like connections with other churches and places in Michigan. So actually, we were just talking before we pressed record on this. The first summer after it would have been like a year after we graduated from college, when we were really like out and about and traveling a lot, we went up to the camp that my family ran.
And we did this thing that we did in 2012 several times.
Yes. But that first time, it was like the most consistently we had ever been playing, like on the weekend. So we went and camped out up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan for like 7 or 8 weeks where my family was. And on the weekends, we would travel down and play in churches on Sundays in Ohio, Indiana, and Michigan. And like, I remember we worked hard that summer. We did a lot of stuff, a lot of driving.
Well, it's 5 hours just to get back from camp to Detroit area. So we would actually have to pass that to get into Indiana, to get into Ohio. So we were doing
long drives,
8 to 10 hours.
Pontiac Grand Prix.
Yeah, baby.
And at the end of the summer, after all the expenses and everything had been paid for, and like whatever teensy amounts of money that we were making at these places that we were playing
on t-shirts, and
each of us were able to make $700. I remember the number. $736.36 a piece.
We felt like
at the end
queens.
of 7 weeks, and we were like, "Oh my god,
we're gonna make it!
This is awesome! We're gonna be able to live and do this." I don't like 700. If I make that's $100 a week.
You definitely couldn't, order your coffee with oat
amazing
milks.
No, I could not afford to order any alternative milks at that time.
No
Praise
milks.
God. Oh man. But yes, we have played at so many kinds of churches in the Midwest. There's a lot of them. And it's not really a vacation destination. So unless you got family there,
it's not.
You're not probably.
No.
I mean, I think Chicago is probably like the biggest.
Yeah, because big cities like Cleveland, Cincinnati, Columbus.
Nobody's going to hang out there for the weekend.
Indiana.
Yeah.
What's the
Indianapolis?
No. See, that's how much I love you, Indiana. I love you, but
hey,
that's
trivia. What's the capital of Michigan? I'll give you a hint. It's not Detroit.
Is it Ann Arbor?
No.
Oh, dang it. It's Flint. Flint, Michigan is the capital of Detroit.
Sheboygan.
Kalamazoo.
No. It's Lansing.
Dang it.
Yeah.
I honestly can't remember any of those things for that. Because we've been to so many cities in...
And they don't make sense.
Sorry about that.
Lansing makes no sense. It really doesn't.
Yeah, sorry.
But yeah, there's your fun fact for Michigan trivia.
So...
We've got some favorite
we do
food places that we have been to in Michigan, and some of them will be in places that maybe you'll visit. Some of them don't exist
never
anymore,
ever go there.
Yeah.
But, yeah. All right. You want me to go first? You want to go first?
I'll go first.
All right.
With the suburbs of Detroit.
Hit it.
Staple for me.
I'm ready.
I actually grew up moments away from like a massive population of Middle Eastern culture. Like it's actually, I think for a long time, I'm not sure if it still is, but it was like one of the largest populations of Middle Eastern influence and like immigration, first generation families in like the United States, which like when I was a kid, like I had no idea.
Right.
Like
Yeah, right.
I had no idea that it was a thing. So then when I went to college and came back, I realized like, wow, there's like actually a ton of culture here. And one of my favorite places to eat is called Malik's.
Come on. Malik's is fire.
It is like, it's Mediterranean, like halal, like, it's Middle Eastern, just like deep, rich, yummy protein, like meat, gyro sandwiches, chicken, kebabs.
It's a conglomeration of a lot of different.
Yeah, it's a lot of different kind of like fusion of
Middle Eastern cuisine.
Mediterranean cuisine.
Yeah.
And it is so, their naan bread,
you guys,
I could actually eat like,
they serve their naan bread with
6
this garlic
pieces of
sauce,
that.
though.
Oh.
This garlic, and I don't know if it's like mayo
It's
or
not.
what is it.
It's not mayo.
But it's creamy, and it is.
It doesn't have dairy in it because Eric got it last time we were there, and he asked, and they said no.
It's
Eric. I don't know what it is.
Eric is her brother-in-law,
brother-in-law,
by the way. Oh my gosh! But I literally spoonfuls, just like cover the whole bit of naan bread. Like I'm using the naan bread
just to eat
the dip
stuff.
Yeah.
And the hummus is like probably the best hummus I've ever
fabulous.
had. You've been to Israel before, so like you can't really compare to that. But like the
Israel's
hummus at
next
this place
level,
is
but
like,
it's very good at this place. It's very, very good. But the main event is that lentil, mushroom, onion dish with lamb.
the majra.
Oh my gosh. And you put that in the naan bread with the sauce.
The onions are like
crisp,
very, very thin,
yes,
and like crispied. And the black, like the lentils.
It's so good.
Oh, and it's like got like a little bit of like a broth type thing going on. It's so rich, but it's so like light. You can just pound all the food and like walk out of there and feel.
And then they serve, like a light salad or something like tabbouleh and stuff next to it.
The baklava.
Yeah, it's good.
It's like they have like the little baby, like ones that are like rolled into a cylinder, like the mini ones, and then they have the big old honking like triangle pieces, and the whole everything is just amazing. And there's a lot of places like that I'm sure are just as good, but my spot is Malik's. So if you're ever in Dearborn, Michigan,
where you gotta
a couple
go.
different Malik's, and
I'm sad I haven't been there actually in a long while.
it's amazing. Okay, go ahead. You're next.
Oh, do you have your 3 places, or is that just it?
I have,
Or do you
I have my
do
I have
3.
3, but like I think one of them like you're gonna say. So if you want to flip back and forth, we can do that.
Okay. I mean, probably Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And
CPOG?
yeah, Chicago Pizza Oven and Grinders. It is a cash-only place, and it serves these.
Sort of looks like a place like people in the mafia would meet or something.
Oh, absolutely. That's a great way to
Very
describe
like
it.
tiny and long and dark.
Wood booths, wood tables, floors wood, ceilings wood, the whole place. They've got like a bar with like, and everybody's dressed in like white shirts, black bow ties, black aprons. And they only serve like 4 things. And one of them is this pizza pot pie thing. And what they do is they'll put the cheese in the bowl that they bake the dish in first.
It's like a casserole, like little.
Mm-hmm. So they put the cheese down, then they put like button mushrooms, then they put the meat sauce inside, and then they cover the top of the bowl with a pastry covering, which is the pizza dough part of it. They bake it in the oven, and then they bring it to your table. They turn it upside down, kind of like get all the crispy edges out, and then it just sits like a bowl of pastry and sauce and cheese, and it's melty.
But the bread has been cooked on the top, so it's like perfectly like crusty and like browned.
And it's not too much, not too little, and it's just so good. And you get this salad with it that's got like this creamy dressing, and then it's got the poppy seed, and then it's got like the garlic dressing, and then you also want to make sure you get the huge big bread, flatbread. With all of the spices and stuff on it, because you tear that off and you eat that with the salad.
It's a great experience.
It's really fun, and they only serve like those 4 things,
and they have like
sandwiches,
grinders,
but and just like a few different type, like not like 3 maybe with different toppings on it, but it's mostly like meatballs. Never gotten those because I can't get past the pot pie. And we've taken several people there now at this point, and it always, I mean, you leave full. Mm-hmm. You leave full on purpose, but like you can either get like a pound version of it or like a half-pound version. And it's great if you want to split it with somebody, but it's
super good.
It's yummy. And the line's usually long. So what we usually do is we will put our names in, and they'll be like, okay, it's like an hour wait. And we will actually go to the Chicago Zoo.
Yeah.
A couple blocks down, which is free. And we'll go walk around, and then we'll come back.
It's great. If you're ever in Chicago, Chicago Pizza and Oven Grinders.
Fabulous.
Another of my favorite food experiences in the Midwest is really like any place that you can get whitefish in the northernmost part of Michigan.
You guys,
so there is like an Upper Peninsula, which most people are like, what's that?
Canada?
It's the best part of Michigan, honestly. It's like uninhabited,
untouched
land. Like it's beautiful. There's Great Lakes, like fresh water, wonderful like summertime swimming, gets nice and icy, and snowmobiles and all the things in the wintertime. And I grew up there in the summers when I was a kid, and there was a place that we would go to that they literally just serve fish, like, and it's fried whitefish that they catch out in Lake Superior, like during the day, bring it in, batter it, fry it. Best thing with like the standard like diner fries, French fries, and they would make pie. Like, so dessert, you
have
pie.
To tell the story. You have to tell the story. You have to tell the story. I'm going
to embarrass my sister for a minute. And I know that she'll listen to this. So it's even better. My sister loved their blueberry pie, which it's great. Like, I understand
everything from there is good.
It is like it's homemade, like homemade pie. Like who doesn't want homemade pie? But one week we came in there, and me and my family, and MP was with us. And it's like about a 20-minute drive, like from the camp that I was telling you about earlier that my family ran up there. And so one of the nights we would come over there like during the week and get whitefish and like hang out as a family. And Kaylee loved the blueberry pie. Just like couldn't get over it. She was talking about it on the way there. Like, oh, I can't wait to get my pie, And so she gets there and like sees there's just like this crummy whiteboard that has like all of the writings of like what the pies are of the day that they have.
Yes.
So then she looks up there and she's like, oh, I don't think they have blueberry pie today. So like she asked the waitress when she comes, like, what kind of pie? This is another Kayleeism. Like, she doesn't say, do you have blueberry pie? Which would have immediately
gotten your
given
answer.
her the answer that she didn't want to hear, which is no, we don't have blueberry pie.
Right.
What kind of pie do you have tonight? she lists all the pies that are on the whiteboard. Like you could read them for yourselves, like apple, strawberry, rhubarb, lemon meringue, or something like that. And Kaylee sees that lemon meringue is one of the options, except, it's like a whiteboard, and they've been erasing like the ones that have run out.
Right.
So she sees the word meringue and it looks, like that's like an interesting, it's like MERING.
It's French.
It's French, yeah. But like the E looked like a C. And so Kaylee goes, what is McRingy? And our whole family is like,
what? I looked at her and I was like, Kaylee, that's lemon meringue.
Like, first of all, it's not McRingy, it's lemon meringue, which you could have figured out based on the context clues of the word lemon before it. Second of all, she already read the sign to you. Third of all, is there a chance that McRingy could possibly be code for blueberry? Probably not. So McRingy.
It was a perfect moment.
Is a thing. Also, this place literally is like no tablecloths. Like it is the cheapest possible chairs that you can get. There are family photos hanging on the walls.
They serve smoked fish, smoked whitefish with crackers,
saltines.
It's
not anything.
It's the most Michigan place I've ever been to in my entire
wonderful.
life.
And they have cottage cheese,
which is also the most Michigan thing that I've ever
experienced. Do I get
experienced.
cottage cheese every time I go there?
Honestly, that cottage cheese is... people do not do cottage cheese better than Michigan.
Anyway, if you find yourself in the north part of Michigan, you should check out...
the furthest north.
And investigate.
Yeah.
If you're by some water, get some
Wilcox.
whitefish. Wilcox. That's what it's called. Yep.
Oh. Coffee shop.
My 2 coffee spots, and I'll do this quickly. First of all, in Chicago, kind of like changed the game for me as far as like matcha and coffee and the integration of both of them is a place called Sawada. This guy has won coffee champs.
You guys.
For his espresso. He is Japanese, so he knows and loves and honors the art of making good tea.
Yes.
And matcha, and he has made this thing that perfectly comes together, and it is a matcha espresso latte. I've tried to recreate it at like so many different coffee shops, and it tastes like dirt.
They really don't do a good job.
But this guy has done an amazing thing, and it's called the Camo Latte. It's amazing. They have hojicha, which is like a roasted matcha. They make a latte out of that, and yeah, it's
very good.
Beautiful. There's a couple different locations. And they have sort of strange hours, but like you should look it up and go there.
And the combination of like matcha and espresso sounds like a really interesting thing.
It's a lot.
It is a lot.
It's
but you know
rich.
What? You'll love it, you'll hate it.
Yeah, but if you can think about like the same concept applies to chocolate. You put really rich chocolate in coffee and it's a mocha. And people are very like, oh yeah, a mocha. Everybody does that. And it's kind of like the same idea. It's just a different
It's just very unique.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting. And the vibe of the place is awesome. It's connected to a barbecue place and a bar.
Yep.
So you first walk in and it's this big, huge metal door with tons of stickers on it. You walk through the door and then you turn.
Industrial.
Yeah. You turn right.
Yeah.
And then you've got the coffee shop area, and then there are these stairs that lead down into the bar and barbecue place. And then there's like a wall of seats that is like, the stadium style like seating that's wood that everyone's like sitting
big
on.
Stairs.
Yeah, for where they're doing their coffee stuff, and then everybody else is like watching sports and doing barbecue and different. It's just like it's so interesting. And every time I go in there...
It's not like a go do your work there kind of
No, it's just a be in the moment
Yeah.
place. But every time I go in, I see the most interesting people. And actually, these earrings, I got these earrings on purpose because I saw this woman. She had buzz cut, blonde, red hat, all black outfit, had resin clear hoops, tattoos. She looked so beautiful. And I really do. Like I credit her with my blonde hair and like cutting it short
just going
and stuff.
To get coffee there?
She was just getting coffee.
Nice.
And I just looked at her and I was like, you are so cool. That was not like, well, that was like maybe like 5 years ago or whatever. I just thought she was so cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, Sawada, good place.
And I'll do one more nod to coffee in Michigan, which they started in Grand Rapids, now have a location in Detroit. And I've heard that they might be possibly expanding to Chicago, which would be interesting.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
Which makes sense. Detroit's just as far away from their roastery in Grand Rapids as Chicago is. But Madcap coffee is by far the best coffee I've had in Michigan. They just do stuff right. Their branding is awesome. It's like a little lightning bolt logo. People are really nice. They have like kind of like craft cocktail style, like seasonal drinks that are like very, kind of difficult to conceptualize, and they pull it off really well.
Their espresso is just good.
You want a good cappuccino? Madcap coffee.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Food places, coffee places, check. How do we honor the Midwest with our stories?
Man.
There's so many. It's a filing cabinet. There's hundreds of stories. All these different churches in the middle of nowhere, different places that we've played specifically. Guy, there was a run of churches that we did when we had a manager back then, when we were doing a bunch of stuff with Compassion. There was people that we asked to be in the band, like people from Michigan that we asked to be in our band for different events for stuff. Yep. But I think it was like some of the first places that we ever went, because when we graduated from college in 2011, it was call up the people that you know. Yep. And
we knew a lot
of people. Yeah. And your dad had so many different contacts. I mean, we've played for the Southern Baptist
Pastors Conference
3 or 4 years for Michigan. Like, we've played in Charlevoix. We've played in Bay City.
Yep.
We've played in Detroit area. We've played in
Lake Orion.
What are other places? We've literally played all over Michigan. I know more about Michigan than I ever thought I ever would. I didn't even know that Michigan was a state when I was little. I was like, what's Michigan? Like, she's the only introduction that I have to Michigan.
Mary Pat introduced me to avocados when we were in college, and I introduced Mary Pat to the state of Michigan.
Fair trade.
Even
fair trade. But I mean, like, the first place that we played, we did a weekend trip in college with our band. Yeah. Shout out to the band you're about to hear.
That was before we were even Water Within.
Before we were Water Within. That was the first time that we ever went out as a band, traveled, did a tour. We played
3 times.
We played at Metro City in their coffee shop, like their little open mic type deal. We played in your dad's church, and then we played, I don't know where the other, but that's
we played a Sunday night somewhere too.
Yeah. Michigan has, the Midwest has a lot of us.
Yeah. Yeah. We have, I think that the thing that the Midwest really taught us was how to serve the people that are in front of us.
Wow. That's good.
Which is like an interesting thing. I mean, I grew up there, so like I'm pretty used to, and I'm not saying that every church is like this by any means, but there's a lot of really blue collar workers, jobs, like kind of like towns built on industrial revolution.
It's the heartland, man.
You know, I mean, like Detroit is known for like automotive production, so like a lot of
and farming communities
and farms, lots of farms.
Yeah,
oh my word. So it's just like a very like they're like the salt of the earth kind of
hardy
like
people.
Work hard, play hard.
Yeah,
you know, like they love their football.
They do.
And,
they
like,
love their sports.
You know, it's like I've worked 60 hours this week in a factory, and now college football is on, and I'm gonna have a good time. You know,
right?
Like that's
Midwest,
kind of the heart and soul of, and like, man, college football in the Midwest is whoo.
It's intense.
It's like not even get into that.
Well, there's a lot of big schools though, so there's just like there's so much to go off of with that.
Notre Dame.
I mean, Ohio you got State,
Michigan State.
Yeah.
You got like, there's a ton. Like Purdue, there's a lot of representation of, you know, like that kind of like the collegiate
And also the Midwest is super smart. Like it's this weird juxtaposition between blue collar and this highly, highly intelligent hustle college culture.
Yeah.
Where there's so many smart people that are going to these super smart schools. And it costs a lot of money to go there, and it takes up a lot of your energy and time because you're learning all of these huge, big things. And
I think that, like, too, like, our generation's, like, right on the edge of the cusp of that idea that, like, you've really made it. Like, if you got into, like, a difficult to go to school.
Yes.
And, like, I think that, like, you know, there's, like, stories like Rudy and,
right.
like, what's the Indiana basketball story?
Oh, Hoosiers.
Like, you know, there's like lots of movies like that are about Midwestern towns, like that you don't really have.
People
like,
sit in the middle of cornfields just dreaming about when they can like do their next thing, or
just like want to be a professional basketball player,
or they're just gonna always work in a factory, or they're gonna do something with their lives. Yeah, that's the Midwest.
That is like very like Midwestern culture has like kind of like is birthed out of like that sort of the heartland kind of like idea of.
And it's reflected so big in their churches.
Yeah.
So big. You have these, it's true, like after Sunday, we're going to go watch a football game, you know, after church.
Like guys that would like come to church in their coveralls.
Yeah.
It's like that's the clothes they have.
Like, but also like, you know, like, or we're going to go play basketball, or we're going to do a game. You've got, you know, these women who are just hearty people that are just doing the thing, and these women love sports too. They're just like everybody's so community oriented in
leagues.
that. Yeah,
like church softball leagues are like a big thing,
and then you've got like the Midwest accent and the whole thing, and they're just like making food and doing the thing, you know. I think within the church context of like Midwest, when you said the thing about like serving the people that are in front of us, it's not that there isn't a lot to these people. They're very complex. There's a lot going on. It's just that they really appreciate simple, and they don't really want to move off from it.
Yeah.
They're like, it's kind of just been this way. Why break something if it's not
broke,
need to be
don't fix
right,
it.
Right. Like we don't need to fix this. It's totally fine. Yeah. And that's been interesting from kind of what God has done in our lives, which has always been this kind of rotation of, well, we're not really necessarily broken, and it doesn't necessarily mean there's something to be fixed, but there's always something new to learn about God.
Yeah.
So taking that and walking into these places where they're like, I don't think there's too much more new to like learn about things, and you're like,
Yeah. I think like Joliet's a great example of that. There's a church that we've played.
Yeah.
We play every year there. It's First Presbyterian Joliet, which is like a suburb of Chicago.
Yes.
And it is an old
we love
building.
This church.
It is beautiful. The stained glass is like...
It has been around for hundreds of years.
It's like dark brown on the inside.
It's beautiful.
You know, like... And they're very traditional. Like
they are.
If you went to our church on Sunday morning...
Oh my gosh.
In Nashville, the church that we serve and go to all the time.
Yes.
And then you went to a service at like First Pres Joliet, you would be like, how do they like you guys?
Right.
Like, how does this make any sense?
No, for real.
But like what we have done and what I think we learned how to do because we played so many places in Michigan and Indiana and Ohio.
Yes.
Where there's like
in
a
Illinois.
lot of different denominations and a lot of different expressions. But like by and large, like you're not getting feedback from the audience. Like you're not able to read a room and say like, oh, I'm really connecting well with these people.
Right.
We kind of learned how to be sensitive to the Spirit in how we were preparing for the service.
Yes.
And the way that we really did that was like in talking to the pastor and being like, hey, what songs does your church sing? We don't want to like come in and just sing songs that we love and hope that like people will care.
Yeah.
We want to like get into where these people already are because they live here and they work here and this is their life. Like
that was what God was telling us when that verse about Paul saying, be all things to all people. That was like a banner that we felt like God was flying over us.
And it's not meant to be read like change yourself to adapt to like whoever's around you so that you can be easy to understand.
Be 100% yourself, but be kind and understand culturally what's going on and meet people where they're at.
Which is, I mean, what Jesus did.
Oh,
Like
Jesus
the first thing that comes to my head is like the woman at the well.
Jesus is the best.
Like he doesn't need to be at the well.
No, and he also doesn't need to be a Samaritan. He needs to be fully Jewish. He needs to be fully himself, and that's what she needed. But also, he met her where she was, literally and figuratively.
Yes.
And by doing that, it allowed her space.
And he talked to her about her context. He said the truth to her. But used where she was at, like in drawing water out of a well in the middle of the day because she was embarrassed to be there, like when everybody else was drawing water. And like he contextualized the truth around her because he was loving and serving her. And I think like that is like the big lesson that like we have learned, like in not being able to receive like a lot of enthusiasm or a lot of like shouting and cheering and charismatic kind of expression
or even
during worship,
lifting your hands or even singing the song. Even just singing the song along with us. And this repetition of being a part of this environment again and again and again within the Midwest, I think what it did is it shaved off any version of pride that we might have had for ourselves. Like people don't like us or they're not doing. That's not what it was. God was just allowing us to understand that when you step into culture like that, that he's moving and breathing, you just have to listen to what he's saying and how to serve the people where they're at.
And he's always really going to be doing it in the context of like
he's always going to be doing it where they are. He's not going to do it in
the context of like me, I'm coming in from where I am. So like
everyone, all of you people, all of you hundreds of people who have been doing this, and as I walk into your house, how about you snap to the grid of my life for an hour and a half and that'll be how it is.
Right.
It's never how it is.
And it's like, that was like an exercise in learning how to submit, especially like early on in, you know, we were trying to like do music full time. Like we wanted to like play our music and like play the songs that we'd written and like kind of like see where we could go with that. And I think that the way that we sort of stopped prioritizing making a name for ourselves was in realizing like that's really not ministering to people in the same way that like us coming in and like being a part of their context is ministering to them. And I think that's how you earn trust with people quickly is like saying like, hey, I'm definitely not you. Like I'm not like, I don't live where you live. I don't work where you work. I'm not like trying to be you and I don't want you to try to be me, but like here, let me like step into your zone for 25 minutes and contextualize this song that I've sung in 20 different churches in the last 6 months to like where you are. And let's see like what God has to say to you, like in this little window of time.
And I think like the people that we've met and the relationships that have built out of all of that, like when I think of like women from the Midwest, I think of laughing. I think of like loud rooms, strong women, beautiful women that are just like, they care big and they love large. And the men, I'm just like, they are there to serve. Like they just love their families and they're involved in caring about who's around them and
work with their hands. They just Carhartt.
They do like they work on their cars. They love what's in front of them. They're doing the thing. They're like, you know, shouting across the street to their neighbor, being like, "How's it going, Joe? Oh, it's going good." You know, like it really is. I would say like some of the version of America that I love the best is probably that viewpoint of Midwest because it's just so hearty. And what that has taught me, as you said, like if I don't like get excited about the people that are in front of me in that way, I miss them.
They're not like exotic and like interesting, like on the outside looking in. Like I said, nobody's going on vacation to Indianapolis. Like, not happening. But like that's like a big portion of you know, like what America is cornfields and farms and big stretches of straight, wide open road that like.
You know what I think of when I think of the Midwest? I think of faithful. Mm-hmm. I think of faithful.
Is Kansas and Nebraska is technically got to be the Midwest too, right?
I think so. I don't know. Because, I know like plains and stuff, but I don't know.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
But
it's similar though, like in a lot of ways. Like it's just.
I really love what you said about what Midwest has taught us, which is, serve people where they're at again and again and again. And I really loved what you said about how it really took the pressure off of us feeling like, oh, this is how we're going to make it, like I'm going to make a name for myself being this. It's like God was like, no, that's not what we're doing here. I'm teaching you how to love people right where they're at. And when you step into their world that you go, how can I serve you?
Well, I think
do you need?
Like the furtherance of that though is like me, like myself and you and like what we do together like is a representation of like my relationship, my intimacy with Jesus when I'm not doing that. So that's the thing that doesn't change, right?
Wow.
Like when I go into a place that like I can't tell based on like when I start playing my guitar, we start singing, if people are into and like flowing with us and like wanting to participate in like what the Spirit is doing. Like I don't have a read on anybody's face because like it's not because they don't care or because they're not participating. It's just because that's not who they are to like be expressive in that way.
Right.
So like when I'm no longer looking for that, I'm able to be more authentically true to like what God has done in me.
Yes.
And like let that be the thing that I'm able to say like that's not going anywhere. So like what am I losing by doing a song that I'm tired of singing? Because it's like I've already been singing it at my church like 2 years ago and it's old to me, but it's new to them. Like,
or they love it.
Yeah, or like they just really love it. Like it's not costing me anything because I'm still leading from a place of my intimacy with Jesus, not out of like what I can get out of these people who are in front of me.
Thank you, Jesus.
Like because of their facial expression. And I think like the first couple of years, like playing so many times in churches where like you're just not going to get an outward response out of people.
Right.
Even if they all are 100% dedicated to Jesus, have amazing...
That's just culturally not the normal.
Yeah, it's just culturally not going to be a thing.
Right.
So like just get over it and stop looking for that. Like and that I love that that's where we started instead of on the opposite end of the spectrum.
Right.
Because it allows for me to have to be true to me. And like to say like even if nobody like sure it's like real fun to play music and like have a worship experience where like everyone is like thriving and like really outwardly expressive and singing really loud and like you feel like you're like a big family, like yeah, that's great, like I love that and I'm sure that God loves it too. But like when I am focusing on like I'm gonna serve these people and I'm gonna worship Jesus myself in this 20 minutes and not be distracted by like all of the things that you can be distracted by,
right? Like, or basing what you've done through their response. Like, oh, I'm successful because you're raising your hand.
Right. But then like the thing that happens is like you are talking to people at the end and like what they're saying to you is very indicative of the fact that they were like
100% moved.
Were like all in during worship. Like you just couldn't tell based on like their expression.
Well, and that and from that continual response, the stories that would come out of that and the tears that would be on people's faces and the different moments that we were able to see when there actually was a reaction, that's how I know that Holy Spirit was doing even more than what was being, the first initial thing of my worship. I mean, we played in Michigan a year ago at our friend Zawadi's house. His church that he's at now, his house, his new church. And the way that God had set up the whole sermon with the songs, by the time the dude that preached was finished and we started singing King of Kings and then Gratitude, the whole room was like, it was, and what it was is that the whole, like the service was so much so that you could not deny that Jesus was who he said he was.
Yeah.
Via the songs that were sung, because we picked some songs that were pretty like
new to
hymn-like in structure, theology, so that there was something for people to hold on to, even if they didn't know what it was about. Mm-hmm. And as it progressed, and then kind of capping off the song with like after the sermon with the song that everybody actually knew and like could grab onto. Man, there was one moment that I was like, I'm going to fall out on this stage. Like the Lord is so present and his spirit is so big in this room right now. And you're watching people that were crusty crust. I mean, they folded their arms at the beginning of service. These beautiful old men who are raising their hand and like crying. And I was like, God, what are you doing here? Yeah. But it's like, I also felt like that was a testimony to God being like, you dug deep, deep. And it started here first. 10 years ago.
That's cool. We started like, instead of, like trying to, because it's not wrong to like want to know, like, how did that land on people? Like did we actually facilitate something that was like helpful to the people that are there?
Sure.
Like, how can we grow? How can we do better next time? Like what, like, we want to do the best job that we can.
Yeah.
So typically what we end up asking the worship pastor is like, comparatively to a normal Sunday morning, how was that?
Hey, Michaela, how much time do we have? Okay. Go ahead.
Comparatively, like how, like what were the people like today versus like, the last couple of months.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we learned in college was like that a worship set is first and foremost to glorify God.
Yes.
And to minister to Jesus.
Yes.
Like, absolutely. But also like in the context of growing a congregation and like discipling people together and as a community, it's like to move people in their intimacy with Jesus from point A to point B. Like you're not going to move people from point A to point X.
Right.
Like it's not going to happen.
Right.
And if you try to do that, you're going to lose them in like 30 seconds.
Right.
That's not serving people. That's you wanting them to be whatever way you think is the way that you want them to be. I mean, like how can you even know if it's better or worse? Like that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So like in just talking to the worship pastors, we've learned so much about like what we see is not what's real. Like it's not, like you can measure things like based off of like, oh, these people were raising their hands today and normally they don't. Like that is something like that's to be noted.
Sure.
But for me, coming into a place that I've never been before and trying to serve people, like it's completely out of pocket for me to say like the best way to serve you is to make you look more like the church that I came from.
Whoa.
Zoinks. And like I just think that the Midwest is like has been an awesome place like for us to learn how to really actually serve people and like let go of the ego at the door.
And take into consideration that cultural differences do not mean bad or
one
less.
Thing's better or worse, or
because
like higher or lesser or more spiritual or
there are some people that I mean, I'm just thinking of like Pastor Tom's church. And it's like, we always try to be respectful and wear like nicer clothing. Like everyone wore suits and it was a reformed church.
Yeah.
And not judging things face value for what they are. I had, Jesus changed my life via conversations I had with Pastor Tom about
theology.
Changed my life so much so that when we left Pizza Hut, because that's where we would always go, because there's one of the best Pizza Huts in the country. It's like in
like voted and rated
in
Kendallville,
Indiana,
middle of nowhere.
Random fact,
cornfields.
And after a conversation we had with him about theology and all the inner workings of those things, I walked away going, oh my gosh.
I know nothing about God.
I know nothing about God.
Yeah.
And it was so beautiful. And, it was coming from a dude, a incredible man who has done ministry and loved people and served people forever.
Yep.
And he took the time.
Yep.
And we still have a relationship with him and his wife. And that was in the middle of the Midwest, sunk my feet into asking me, what do you actually believe about God? Who is God for real? And it has formed the foundation of my entire understanding of who the Lord is.
Well, then, because if you understand who God is through the lens of your church, that's not going to be a good vibe, because churches are different everywhere. If you have to understand God first and then express it through the church, that's the way to having theologically sound anything.
And it taught me that it's not about jumping up and down, and it's not about standing with your arms in your pockets, and it's not
taking communion every Sunday, or
reciting the same liturgical service again and again, or crying on your face and taking a lap, or any of those things. It is, who is God for real? Who is he? What does he say about himself? And what does he say about serving his bride after you get the revelation of who Jesus is?
Yep.
Oh, wow. That's
good stuff.
I am thankful for the Midwest. Yeah. Midwest gave me Whitney. Yeah. I'm thankful for you. Wow. Wow. I'm going to be marinating on that for a while. Like, I am full of gratitude. I got to write Pastor Tom a letter.
Yeah, we should.
Holy crap.
Well, this has been season 3, episode 2.
Episode 2,
miles
Midwest.
Over miles.
We did it. Again, we made it to the end of an episode. Hey, there's a bunch of beautiful things that we're doing. Waterthin Ministries, we're now fully nonprofit. We're going to let you know a little bit more information about how this podcast is about that. But please check us out on our website, waterthinministries.com. Mm-hmm. We are on Instagram, Water Within. We're on Facebook. We're doing all of the beautiful things. Share this podcast around, like, subscribe, all the things, YouTube, different things. We're so thankful for you all. Thank you for hanging out with us for an hour, talking about beautiful things in Jesus and where we've been and food we love. And we will see you guys next time.
Yeah.
Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much for joining us on the Matters Over Miles podcast, a resource of Water Within Ministries. If you would like to be a supporter of the show, head over to water-within.com/WWM and click the donate button at the bottom of the page. All donations are tax deductible and greatly appreciated. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.
Even though we're on the go, just turn on your radio and crank up the dial so we can hang for a while. This is Wit and MP through your technology, with our hearts on our sleeves and big smiles. We're glad we got to talk to you about matters over miles. Matters over miles. Matters over miles.